Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 7 for the Social Selling for Newbies live show and podcast. I'm Tom Burton, and as you see, if you're watching, I am here with my co-host Brandon and our special guest today, Skyler Radcliffe from Salesforce. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, Brandon. Great to see you guys, and really excited to get a little conversation going around social selling and what you guys have created over here. Awesome space.
We're excited to hear from you. Real world BDR experience, case studies, successes, failures, any tears caused, all that fun stuff.
I got some failures. We'll sprinkle in there, but we'll probably focus on the successes just for my case. No.
There you go. I'll share. I had a social failure today that I can share about too. So
I'd love to hear.
Throw those in there.
Is this going to be a failure episode? Man.
Hey, we're all newbies. We're all learning.
That's true. Good point. So, and welcome everybody who's live. Of course, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to jump in. We love that.
Or just say hi in the comments. Let us know. Let us know you're there, where you're at, all that fun stuff.
I know I got some friends coming in to watch, so I think I'll see some comments soon. I hope I do.
Yeah, there's the man, the myth, and the legend.
Tom Burton. Yeah. We knew he was here.
Yeah. For those on the podcast, Carson just jumped in and blessed us with his presence to drop some knowledge.
Carson?
It's going good, Skyler. Good to see you again, my friend.
Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you.
Looking forward to the chat today.
Yeah,
Me too.
So let's do it. Skyler, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, your background, and then we'll jump in because I know we all have lots of questions. So
I can't wait. So I'm Skyler. I'm based out of here in Irvine, California. Enjoying some sunshine, and I am at Salesforce now for a little over a year and 6 months. So fresh out of college, I was able to hop into a business development role, a kind of a new grad entry level opportunity to help with Salesforce with prospecting, research development. And then that has kind of transitioned into what once was an SDR role, sales development representative, which was inbound. We're dealing with people who have interacted with some of our marketing and kind of just like the training wheels, as you could say, for sales, I think is that inbound role. Which leads me now where I've been a business development representative for a little bit over 8 months. I am aligned to a manufacturing and an automotive team of account executives with really the primary goal of setting meetings, creating that initial, I guess you could say, discovery, intro call. A lot of companies may call it a little bit different, but it's that outbound, that cold outreach, and where I saw so much kind of connection between social selling and being a BDR is getting that initial phone call, getting someone to take time out of their day to spend with you when you catch them out of the blue. They don't even know who your company is. That definitely takes a little bit of, understanding their social profile, their social presence, if they have one. So that's a little bit of background. I think I speak a little bit differently than a full cycle account executive. Obviously they're tasked with a little bit more, but for me, that initial phone call is really where I come into play, and hopefully some of the kind of the tips and strategies that I've picked up, and honestly not really picked up, learned from others. We'll be able to share them and get them on the floor.
Skyler, you have a fan over here, Skyler. Mason Barr says Skyler is a Salesforce legend. Look at that. You gotta like being called a legend.
I gotta love that. I gotta love the support, and Mason's one of them as well. So I gotta love to see the Salesforce fam come in. I needed it today.
Beautiful.
Skyler, I was just going to ask to clarify, did your role kind of kick in from an inbound quote unquote lead, or somebody downloads something or requests something online? Or are you actually going outbound and looking for, based around a list or a specific target audience?
Great question. So that SDR role, the one previous to mine now, sales development representative, and it really is interchangeable amongst companies, but at Salesforce, it was an SDR. You are within just like inbound leads. So the best inbound lead is, hey, someone was just checking out a Sales Cloud demo. They were on the site 20 minutes ago. Let's give them a call and see what's driving the interest. That is, I guess, the pre-roll, the development role, to then being a BDR, which is where I'm now, which is completely you're outbound prospecting yourself. there's obviously some things in our CRM that we can see contacts that may already been there, but we have that, goal of ours is to, put in more contacts, create a better system for the future BDR or AE. But for sure, a lot of the time you're going to find an account, especially in my team, which is commercial segment, smaller employee size, manufacturing companies, not always a huge LinkedIn presence or Zoom info presence with those smaller companies. So you got to get pretty strategic in figuring out, hey, who's even working at this company? Who should I reach out to? Who's involved in digital projects, things like that. So that's on us as well as the account executives to figure out.
So you're definitely doing some homework prior to the outreach of what you're doing. And I assume that social is playing a big part of that, right? You're using LinkedIn and Sales Navigator and other, you mentioned Zoom Info, others to do that homework to determine how you're going to reach out.
Completely. And, you'll always hear the cliche, like having a reason why you're calling, the why. That's the objection that always stumps me the most. I was like, why are you calling me? And I think and it's funny because you think you're prepared for that one and then it gets thrown out. You're like, why am I calling? So I got to figure that out. But having, Tom, to your question, the social aspect, if you see for me, I'll go into an account and I go straight to their account page in Sales Navigator. And I immediately just go to, their decision maker page where you can easily filter by, were they past at a company that used Salesforce? And I'll try to avoid saying Salesforce each time, but where did they use a previous CRM? You can search by that, just little things. Did they post recently on LinkedIn? I think that's a great one. And just little, I wouldn't spend too much time just because I think, especially for a BDR, the numbers of it all, the quantity of it all, you got to be somewhat quick and have a repeatable process. But even just having a quick reason of saying, I'm calling you because I'm curious. You're a digital transformation leader at X, Y, and Z company. What does that mean to you? Like digital transformation, that's what we do all the time. What does that mean to you? What does that look like? And I think the message gets even stronger if you can find someone that obviously cares about their social profile. I bet you guys can tell. You click someone, they don't have anything on their LinkedIn. They're probably not the person to be talking about their content.
So I want to ask a question here. So Skyler, I love this. And, first off, I want to point out Skyler and I met on LinkedIn, and it was a thread that I had started around just meeting, difference makers, people that were doing things differently. And he and I chatted and connected, and that's why we're here. So first off, a testament to Skyler's brand and kind of how he differentiates himself. One of the things we want to dive into on this show specifically is how can people get started? What are you doing? I love your, the tools in the tool bag, but like, what are you doing that sets yourself apart that other people that are watching today could start doing and doing it differently to have exponential success?
Great question. I think the first thing is just getting something out there, meaning for me, when I started posting on LinkedIn, authentically, I just liked motivation. Like that was personal motivation, what gets people going. I do a motivational Monday every day and try to send off, quotes in our Slack channels. That was just easy for me. So I was like, hey, I kind of want to expand myself a little bit more socially. So to start, do something authentic. I feel like I always read about content creators saying, I'm so burnt out. And I can imagine a lot of that has to do with, if it takes a lot of energy out of you to post, it's probably not an authentic, organic thing to get out there. And then from there, I think, Carson, it's just taking time out of your day to make a quick, organic touch point, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's another social channel you're using. I know we're talking a lot about that. I know there's so many other tools out there, but for me, it's, hey, I make a phone call, I send an email. Let's make a quick connection on LinkedIn. If they get a chance to look at my profile, well, they kind of see the personally motivated, outgoing, like that's at least what I like to put out there. So for people nervous to get started, what do you like to do at work? What is your kind of side passion project? Things like that. The more human you can make the sales, the social selling, I think the better. And I think that just starts with like just or authentic content that's not forced. I can imagine for you guys, this isn't forced. This is just super casual, and why this conversation can be casual. It's because it's easy for you guys to talk about.
Well, I think it's because just looking at Brandon, I mean, he puts me at ease. Like I come into these pretty stressed usually, and like I just take one look at Brandon, and I just kind of it diffuses
Drops
the
it down.
situation. I feel like I went back in time.
Keep it coming. I need it. Feed the ego. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
So you say something interesting there too, Skyler. You know what's interesting to me? I always talk to people when we're talking about social selling. It's like pick the mediums that you're comfortable with, but think about all the different ways that you can leverage them. I use a lot of the same tools that are at the disposal of everybody that I work with, but I just use them differently. And here's a case in point, like with LinkedIn. You can incorporate video. You can put video as your, profile behind your profile picture. You can write different things around personal interest that might have synergies with other people you're trying to connect with. You can go out and look at their profile and find out what they care about and leverage that synergy as a way to reach out. Lastly, like even building telemetry into your email outreach. I'll embed links in my signature line and in newsletters that I send out so that I can see what people react and respond to. And then I know what point of view matters to them and how I can best show up with value. And so that's what I loved most about what you kind of highlighted, because I think a lot of us are in that situation. We've got a lot of different leads from different sources. We know who we want to reach out to. I think you're doing it differently because you're adding that human personal element.
One thing I appreciate that, Carson. One thing I'll add to that is, the standing out. It doesn't have to be super special. I even think like if, my job is to cold call and I'm selling a meeting, that is the ultimate goal, is selling time. Even just referencing someone's job description from their LinkedIn profile. A lot of the times you'll see, oh, this is a director of IT, and they'll put in the things they have implemented or the projects that they've been kind of tasked with being the leader for. So you can even just double click into it. Hey, I saw you implemented your company's ERP. How'd that go? They obviously can speak to that. And when you're catching someone off guard, those first 15 seconds, you ask, how can you just make this, something to easily add into your life? You don't even have to post anything. Just maybe referencing it, using it in part of your reason behind why you're calling. That has paid off really well. And I think some people want you to see their LinkedIn. You can tell they put a lot of time and effort. So shining light on it is a super, super great way to just kind of break down that area of.
Hey, before we go to the next question, I just want to point out that Skyler has 2 "he's the man" in the comments, and I have 1. Thank you, Nikki, for that. Carson and Tom, like you're fans, man. What's going on?
Hey, as long as my kids still think I'm the man, that's all I go for.
That's the win.
We're just here for you guys. That's what matters, right? We're here to serve you.
So light on your excellence.
That's right.
Man, I'm liking today so far. It's a good. We got to have Skyler back more often.
I like Wednesdays. This is a good little lunchtime for me. I'm feeling good about this.
And now Skyler has a third. He got another "he's the man." I think he's a clear winner today.
I mean, another Salesforce stud just coming in with a smile.
Hey, question for you, Skyler. We talk a lot about numbers on this show and probabilities. Based around, and maybe this is one of the reasons you're getting so many accolades here. Are you finding that you're getting more success? As you said, your job is to book time or sell time. Are you finding that you're more successful selling time because of the work that you're doing with social and compared to others? And are people recognizing that? And, how does it look by the numbers?
That's actually a really good question. I think in the initial call, maybe not. That setting of that first meeting, I don't know if they necessarily know my LinkedIn or my motivation or things around that. But I would definitely say if there becomes a longer evaluation and I have a chance to actually have a longer connection than just a quick 5-minute phone call, I think I can get that across a little bit better. And then I'm immediately always using LinkedIn after the fact way more. You're always requesting if you've had a discovery or a demo or something like that. Again, the BDR is not very much involved down that line, but it's still a way to really help the deal progress. But I honestly think, Tom, it really just goes back to it's not hard for me to come off as positive, because that's truly how I like to look at work and how I like to look at the cold calling aspect of my job. And I think if you call someone, you got the grumpy couch potato on the line, I wouldn't be the over energetic Skyler that you're seeing. That probably wouldn't mesh. I think it's important to mirror. But to your question, I think being positive and energetic and wanting to have a conversation, it bleeds to someone else.
Yeah.
Like they then want to, okay, this person wants to be here. Well, then I kind of want to be here. So, and then I think the LinkedIn and the social, the way that you can really, really capitalize on that is just keeping something, even if it's 2 words that you send in a personal message after an initial call, like fight on. I went to USC. I see you went to US. Fight on. That's 2 seconds. Those things really make an impact. And especially if you can do them in a quick, repeatable process, that's, I think, the name of the game.
That's what you just nailed it, Skyler. Quick and repeatable. What social enables us to do is be more impactful because we show up with better intel. Shout out to Mitch Loader, by the way. Thank you, Mitch. It helps you to show up with better intel because you can see what you should be reacting and responding to in the market. It enables you to get that direct connection with somebody. Secondly, you can do it at scale. And that's where, you and I had connected around how we can be so super successful around this is reaching out to a large number of people with quality messaging and that ability. I can't control who is going to react and respond to what I send. I can focus on sending the right quality message. But if I message a lot of people, Tom, to your point, I've got a higher probability that somebody's going to react and respond. And I think that's what we've got to double down on as social sellers.
The repeatable process part is like, it's the part of everyday selling. It's not even just like the social aspect. If you're coming into the day and you don't really know who you're going to call and the reason why and which part of your territory you're going to reach out with, I mean, you're waking up in the morning having to make that plan. It's probably not going to be the most successful day. I mean, you may have a couple of golden nuggets out there, but you're more likely to have a really effective day with a plan that usually is the one that you did 2 days before. If you can have 3 different game plans rotating in throughout the week of, okay, I'll focus on LinkedIn today. I'm going to make sure that I had this many connections that I can then call tomorrow. That's what makes it super effective, because a couple of random burst messages, maybe you'll find a couple hidden gems or, you can get some conversations going, but you just do it enough. Like Carson said, someone will bite. And I think that's where you can get a really good, like, organic conversation going, is having different channels of, I'm not only calling you, I'm not only emailing you, but we got this little conversation flowing on LinkedIn or on social.
Yeah, I'm hearing 3 things. So tell me if I've got this right. And I think it's really the 3 legs of the stool. One is you're genuinely interested and you care, right? So you're not just reaching out and going, I got to make phone calls today. You're genuinely interested and are interested and want to talk to somebody and find out about their business. So I think that's huge. That's a mindset point, number 1. Number 2,
Exactly.
what you just said is strategy, right? I've got a strategy. I'm going to go at this. I have a plan. I'm going out. And then I follow that up with some of the techniques we've just been talking about. You talk about a 1 + 1 + 1 = 10. I think those are really the 3 legs of the stool that, regardless if you're a full cycle AE or a BDR or anybody who's in this business, if you can do those 3 things, you're going to rise above the crowd. And by using the techniques and things that we're talking about here, you can do it at much more scale and a much more higher number. But it doesn't take away that need to have the strategy and to have the right mindset. Because if you don't have those, you're kind of screwed before you start.
I love the mindset point, because I don't know, I'm forgetting on who said it, but you'll never be the best at anything you don't love. And you're not going to love cold calling every day. I can guarantee that. But having a smile and the wins and the losses and not keeping the highs too high and the lows too low, like that's something that you can control all the time. And the controlling what you can control, which is your motivation and the way that you are just taking on the day. And then the strategy, which is just like, using your social tools, using the information that you have in a system, a CRM, things like that. Like the intersection of that all is really just a matter of like attitude and effort. And I think that's perfectly the way you said it, Tom, is just the motivation, the strategy, you can control that. And then from there, if you keep things, if you have that I hate saying repeatable process, but it's the classic term. You're going to be just fine. And I think you'll really excel among the rest.
I know a part of this was kind of that day in the life. So Skyler, what would you say are your daily non-negotiables? Where do you make sure, like, hey, I got to do this or that every day from a contact sport perspective? Like, what are your non-negotiables there?
Yeah. So I cover, to get a little bit into the detail of my daily life, I cover, 1,600 accounts. So just a large set.
That's kind of like a morning snack, isn't it?
You eat that up for breakfast. I know. For me, that's gonna take some months of digesting. And I think from just that numbers perspective, a non-negotiable for me is I got to call at least a couple of new accounts every day. Just at least get touch on them, get the activity there for sure. And then second, I am one that believes like quality over quantity, and I think in sales specifically, that's definitely an area of contention. Some people definitely say go quantity all the way. I definitely have to have time where I spend at least 5 to 10 minutes going into a LinkedIn and going into a reason for calling. Because there's just nothing worse. You call a VP of sales, not expecting them to get on the line, and you just are kind of making calls, and then they pick up and you're like, wow, I was not expecting them to be on the other end of the line, even though you're calling them. But you get in this mindset of like, I want to hit 50 calls a day. I want to hit these metrics. Well, break it apart. Yeah, you should have some quantity plays where you're really just trying to get touch on this large number of accounts. But another non-negotiable, spend some time, find out the new hires that are going into the company that you cover. What are they being hired for? There's a new director of sales. That's something to call them about. Like, you have a new director of sales. We have I know I got some Microsoft people on the line here, but we got the #1 CRM out here. So I think it's something that's it's easy to talk about. It's a reason for calling. And, at the end of the day, that's what's going to matter most and should be a non-negotiable in your day if you're in my role.
I love that. That's kind of a healthy debate, right? As I see a couple of comments in the chat around the quality versus the quantity. Now, I'm a believer you want to find a balance, right? You want to find a balance of both. You want to find ways to scale, but you also want to find ways to do very focused niche outreach. You're not going to broadcast to the masses if you want to drive something very specific to the C-suite. But on the flip side of that, if you're cracking into a new account, you want to gain some momentum. You want to gain some groundswell. Exactly. And I think that's where the scale motions have really helped. I've talked on here before where my biggest deal, I reached out to over 500 people in one organization that were director and above. I developed what I felt was at the time the most quality messaging based on the scenario, and it worked. Got me into the president's office day 2 on the roll. But to your other point, Skyler, one of the best reps I've ever had on my team, while everybody else was trying to average 100, 200 dials a day, she averaged 10, and she outsold them all because her message was pristine. And that's why I think there's a balance, but it speaks to the scenario. And that's why everybody's approach in social is going to be personalized. It's going to look like what you need it to look like in the situation. I always used it as a problem solver, right? The problem that we faced years ago is we didn't have relationships outside of procurement. So we leveraged this in order to get into every single line of business. And in your specific case, like, I completely agree with you. I think it's really all about what is the quality, because you're picking up the phone, you're dialing, you got to be prepared when that VP picks up.
Brandon,
I think
I wanted Brandon to jump in on this because what you've been talking about is one of your big mantras, right? Go slow to move fast.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect thing.
Yeah. And it really is. And to what both the Skyler and Carson are saying, I mean, social gives us the ability to get quality information, give us a reason to reach out. I mean, I always go back to how to win friends and influence people, right? People want us to be, when we're really, truly interested, is when we capture their attention. And social gives us that ability, and other tools, right? Whether it's Zoom Info or others. But social also gives us that insight, whether they are posting, whether they're commenting, whether you have information about their company through like Navigator or other tools. We've got to be interested. And it goes back to that mindset piece as well. Am I truly interested? And Carson, you say this all the time, you got to add value and serve. Do we have the right mindset to really go in and go, I care about what's going on with them. I want to help. Or do I want to just go in and close a deal? And it shows, like, they can feel that, they can sense that if you don't have that truly caring. And I think when we take the time to learn a little bit, and Skyler, I'm curious to add this question. You said some of your some of your prospects aren't necessarily on LinkedIn. Do you
Yeah.
use other social channels to go try and do some recon and learn a little bit about them? I heard a great story. It was a young woman who was in a SDR BDR job at Adobe.
Yeah.
And she was saying how she was using Instagram and Facebook to go find out more personal things about what they do outside of LinkedIn, and was using those in some of her messaging. And same thing to what Carson said. She made like 10 dials a day, and she was, dominating in her team.
Yeah. No, I mean, first off, good for her. That's awesome. I think the way that, and again, I wanted to say texting, but I know that's not really social. But I'm thinking of an experience today where I get on a voicemail and you hear like, oh, or you can shoot me a text message. To me, I think that's a great channel. And I know it's a little bit different on social media, but from a perspective of that's more mobile. People are constantly on the go, especially in the industry that I'm in. I have a lot of field sales managers, people that aren't always in an office, and especially nowadays, it's hard. So the Facebook method, Instagram, I think that's great. For me particularly, though, I stick more to if they don't have an amazing LinkedIn presence. I still think you can find a lot on a website about company culture, about at least what some sort of vision there is. If they have one on there, it's easy to mention. I can imagine if they've taken time to put out company goals and things that they want to do, sustainability. These are just some that I see. I can imagine employees are somewhat in the know of that. So I think just getting creative, Brandon, again, this woman you mentioned, she just got that's just a creative channel that no one else I really think is doing. And I think the same thing for me when I hear, hey, shoot me a text message. I don't think most sales reps or people that are trying to cold outreach this person actually send a text message. So again, it's that, as Carson, as you guys have been saying, the standing out and moving slow to be able to actually make a solid impact is always noticed, because a lot of people are just doing the 100, 200 dials a day and not understanding the message behind it. And I'll add one thing too, like you mentioned, Brandon, that social can be a quick way of getting information about someone. That's the best. I think that's literally the best way to put it. It's if they have taken the time to describe their day to day from their job, you should that is something you should talk about. I mean, that's what you're. I'm hoping to automate someone's process that they do business. Well, if the way they do business is written on their LinkedIn page, you could really you can have a powerful message behind that.
Here's the thing: deals.
And I think one
relationships. It's that simple. Deals are a byproduct of relationships. Social selling is using every tool in the toolkit, text, LinkedIn, all other social channels, whatever it looks like, in order to create and nurture a relationship, period. And I think that's why these things work. And a good seller will use every single one of them to go out and get intel about their target audience, show up with valuable perspective. And once you start creating these conversations, like, look, I've absolutely reached out to numerous C-levels that didn't give me the time of day at first. But then I started reaching out to other people. I gathered valuable intel from there. Now I speak from the voice of their employees. So I'm able to say, hey, based on the conversation I'm having with your teams, or Mary or Joe over XYZ department, this is what I'm gathering. We've solved this problem with others like XYZ. I'd like to talk to you about exploring those types of opportunities. Bam. Now I have my inroad. My probability of getting that meeting goes up exponentially, and that's social selling.
And I would say too that I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but whether we use the term social selling or virtual selling or digital selling or inside selling, it's about using the tools accessible to you for greater probability. So Skyler, if anyone ever invited me to text them, man, that was the first thing I would do. And that was that would be a channel I'd use. At that point, I'd skip LinkedIn. I'd go straight to texting because the invitation was there. It's really all about, I think social is a great tool for research, and it's a great tool for starting connection, and it's a great tool to message. But not all of the people we want to talk to spend that much time in LinkedIn. So do you go to a Facebook, a Twitter, an Instagram, start getting a little bit of intel? But it's using the tools. And I would say I I'm starting to like the term more like a virtual seller, and social is one of the key channels. But it's definitely not the only channel. As we talk about, email and phones aren't dead. You just use the medium that's best for you right now with that prospect.
I love that. And I'm thinking of one, because you mentioned just the things that you're given, the tools that you're given to sell day to day, virtual selling. We have a program where we're able to send, some of our customers will provide us gifts that we can then send over to prospects. One that I always see a lot of success with is there's a golf gift. The amount of times where I've called this person 5 times, I've left a voicemail, I'm going to send over a little gift to the office with a tiny note like, hope you hit them straight, would love to be able to introduce myself. And the amount of times that I've seen that pay off immensely, even not even mentioning a product, like not even like, hey, we're working with this company to solve this, more just, here's some Titleist Pro V1s. Well, you got 15 minutes of your time to talk, as you know, that, and that's one where I think that's a solid quantity message. Whereas just calling the headquarters number and getting the same receptionist, yeah, you'll hit your 100 calls. But if you want to do like a quality quantity message, do something like that. Like if you have a gift program, if you have a way to like separate yourself from the competition, and it's a fun avenue, like sending over some, golf balls that I have seen. And it came to my mind because I'm like, what else do I use? What else do I use? Zoom info, things like that. I'm like, you occasionally can send over a Starbucks gift card. You see someone who, on LinkedIn is enjoying a cup of coffee somewhere. I don't know. It's another way to break apart from the rest. And that is, I feel like what we always come back to in this conversation, and the ones that you guys have had in the past, just how to make yourself the outlier in a extremely busy sales world.
Find out what they're about. And if you go to their LinkedIn, you go to their Facebook, I've gone to all of these. I've even done an internet search and found somebody, and I found out they wouldn't give me the time of day going through the normal channels at the company that they worked with that was my target audience. But I found out that they were on the board at a partner that I had a ton of relationships with. So guess what? I backdated with the partner, got the introduction, got the meeting, got the relationship, and then it ultimately ended up panning out across the board. You never know where you're going to be able to start these conversations. So use all these resources. You go out and find on their Facebook that it's a public profile, what sports team they like, and you just casually mention in conversation that you know something about that team. Like look for any advantage you can get.
Absolutely. And Skyler, I like what you said too about the gift, because we can't lose the basics of selling, right? On the psychology of selling, the law of reciprocity is so powerful. And I love the story you said, 5-6 times making calls, no response. You got the tool accessible to you, send a gift. I like what you said too. You see on some social profile anywhere that they really like coffee, send them a Starbucks card, or, if you have access to it, send them some sort of unique custom bean blend or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That stuff still works. At the end of the day, we're still human and we still respond as humans. It's not about, let me go create a bunch of posts and all of a sudden the POs are coming in. We've talked about that before. It's a very powerful tool. We just have to kind of change our mindset and open our eyes about all the different ways that we can use this tool.
I don't know which book you referenced there, or if it was one, but I'm just thinking like the emotional side of selling. Like, I think it's so true. Especially in 15, those first 15 seconds of a cold call, like that's where I think you can really shift someone's emotion. Utilizing different channels, threading the 3 together, social, calling, emailing, and then also being able to just appeal to the emotional side, which I think goes back to Tom's point on just how do you remain positive, having the right mindset and the right strategy. It's just, that's the key, right? That's the key right there. Cause it's all emotions. It's especially nowadays where things aren't going so well. And it's just, people may be a little bit on edge, understandably. It's always great to kind of understand that part of it and be able to be there and feel that side.
Another mantra we say a lot is nothing has changed. It's just different. And the thing that hasn't changed, people still like to do business with people who they like. And that is an emotional trigger. And that's just part of our role in connecting with people and being that, the X-axis on Tom's model of being known and liked and trusted.
So I think this is a good way to kind of wrap up here. I wanted to talk a little bit, Skyler, before we wrapped up, about your importance of personal brand. We were talking about this, I think, before the show, and how that factors in, and that you're looking not only to just connect on social, but really make sure that your personal brand is, I guess, well represented, and that when people do look for you and look at you, they feel like, okay, this is somebody I do want to, potentially have a connection with and get to know.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think your personal brand, not even just in the professional world, just the social world, the reputation you have. I think personal brand, kind of like reputation, I feel like that's that's everything to me. When people hear your name, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I value that a lot. I don't want to have a reputation of being someone that lets you down, or says they're going to do something and doesn't do it. I think that it kind of intersects within sales as well. So I think it goes back to like that question Carson asked, what do people do to get that social selling thing turned on? They want to start. It has to be authentic. Like if you come to work every day, we're back in office. So I think about this. I'm a positive person. I got a smile on my face, but that's something that I'll do even if I'm not feeling that great. Like I do it for myself because I got to get myself going. So it's just having the personal brand that really doesn't take any manufacturing, if that makes sense. Like as long as it's just true to you and what comes off the cuff, that's, I think, that's the easiest way for it to be beneficial, not only in real life, which I think is what matters most, but professionally and in a seller, a virtual seller. And I think the way to make that fun, I think it's fun to post on LinkedIn and connect with people I haven't seen since high school professionally. You see what they're doing. You can use that space to also get across the personality or this personal brand that you have. Then again, you're just strengthening you're strengthening all those channels, and you're making them organic and authentic to you. And I think that's how you're going to make it the most effective and also just the most fun. I don't think anyone wants to be doing something every day that they hate. So as long as it's something that it's easy for you, that I think is the best way to do it.
And I think what's really interesting here, we talked a lot about, obviously, the whole idea on social of the pitch slap, right? Where somebody connects with you and then, 2 minutes later, they're asking you for a demo. But there's more to it. You can tell, right, when somebody connects with you and all they care about is how are they going to sell you something. And there's not really any intention, right? You can have an intent of what you're trying to accomplish, but there's no intent of building a relationship. There's no intent of being interested in your business and learning about your business. So you can tell that really easily. And I think what you just talked about holistically, right? When the pitch slap is the pitch slap because to a large degree of the intent or the lack of intent. It's not so much the mechanic of it, it's the lack
mindset.
And the mindset, right? Exactly. So, and I think that's sometimes when people think about BDRs and outbound teams and stuff like that, they're like, oh, this is just another form of pitch slapping. Well, it certainly can be if it's done without the things that we've talked about today, but done with the right mindset,
So true.
with the right strategy, and with the right caring, right? That you care and you want to learn and you want to help them. It's not a pitch slap anymore. It's just, hey, I want to get to know you. And if there's a fit, if there's a fit, if there's not, then it was nice to know you. And I don't feel like I wasted time, So very different.
The real self will always come through if you're trying to just get them to talk to you so they book a demo. That'll be as easy as just seeing something through a pane of glass. Like it's not going to be hard. It's not going to be hard. And again, it just goes back to just like, why would you do something that isn't the true you? Like, I think it's funny they mentioned it, the bad rep that BDRs and SDRs get. It's so well known that we're relentless. You call all the time, you're pestering. But if you finally get them on the line and it's like, I'm genuinely curious about how you are solving that I found on your LinkedIn page, or your company is hiring for that. Let's see how we can potentially be a partner here. Like, that's so different than, hey, we have 24 hours left of this free trial. Come on over and take a sign up. Like that will be tossed in the trash as quickly as possible. So I completely agree with you, Tom.
Well, this has been great. Do we have any, Carson, Brandon, any final questions, thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm going to make a quick one. So Butch put a really good comment in the chat. Agree with the importance of personal brand. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't understand. We did a segment earlier on really selling your boss on the social selling aspect. And I think this kind of falls very similarly in line, but it's a new uncomfortable way. And I think it cedes some control to the sellers. I think I saw a funny meme recently that shows like a marketing person and a salesperson on a roller coaster, and the marketing person's freaking out because the salesperson's like creating their own LinkedIn content. And it's like, that's the new normal. It's like, Brandon, what you were saying before around inside selling, virtual selling, social selling, it's all selling. And I think that's the key element, is that companies have to embrace this new way of selling, because guess what? Their competitors are, and they're all figuring out how to do this. And, I guess that's the way of looking at it is, yes, this was an anomaly years ago when I started doing it, but now it's commonplace. And people look at me, who's been in sales for 20 plus years, as the new type of seller we need, which thank goodness for that, because I'm still around and employable. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, Butch, that we've got to really change that mindset. We do that by going out and getting results. That's how I did it. I had to prove it by going out and getting results with this.
Well, and here's a real practical example of when you can create content and when you can share it with people to add value, do it. So like right now, I have the control of the power. So I get to press the button that shows this is the best comment we've had of the day.
This may be the
Nikki
best
said,
content
I'm the
of the
man.
entire show.
Hands down. So,
Beautiful.
Carson, I think that Brandon wins this because
I got to send a gift card to Nikki.
So Carson, I don't know what you think, but I think Brandon's winning because he's a movie star, right?
That helps.
Right.
I was in a Blink and You Missed It cameo in Fever Pitch. Check it out.
That's a claim to fame. That's a great one. That's a great one.
Less than 15 seconds of fame.
That's all you need, though. That's all you need.
That's good. Well, Nikki, thank you for that. It just did so good for my heart, especially when I'm on a screen with these three guys. So thank you so much for that.
We love you, Brandon.
So Skyler, really appreciate it. We'll definitely have you back on again. And as you go through your journey here and we learn. Before we go, I want to invite everybody to make sure they join our online community, which we just launched last week, socialsellinghq.com. And we'll have this replay posted in here, and Skyler will definitely get you in the community as well. This is a group of people that, we're trying to take what we're doing here to the next level, ask questions. We got some mini courses in there. There's a lot of other things that are going on in there. Quite a few people have joined in the last week, and we're going to keep building on top of it. So if you haven't joined already, socialsellinghq.com, and we'll definitely see you in there.
Please. And I'm just one last thing. I'm really, really honored to be here with you guys. I think I told Carson this when we first talked. There's no better way to help someone get, acclimated to a new role, excelling in a new role, than just sharing best practices that they can walk away feeling confident is actually going to be really effective in their career. So it's so fun getting to do it with an energetic crowd, and giving me a space to talk for 45 minutes. I could go on for a while. So I always appreciate the time, and I can't wait for the next opportunity. It's really been great.
And if people want to connect with you, is LinkedIn the best way to kind of reach out?
Yes, for sure. I'm not that cool on Instagram or Facebook. So LinkedIn's great. And I'll always just love the conversation around how we can get better, not as just sales men and women, but as just people in general. So I always love it.
And we've got to catch up to Brandon on TikTok. So we're trying to get.
I saw one today, Brandon. I mean, you've already got it down quick. So I'm nervous for what the ceiling is.
And it was, we were talking about earlier, it was also my mistake of the day in social. And I don't know what happened, but my 1-minute video somehow got turned into a 3-minute video, and it went on repeat. And I posted it, and then I realized what it was, and I went to go delete it. And I went, wait a minute, no, I'm not going to delete it. Like, this is a good example. Like I'm trying with TikTok as well. I reshared it to LinkedIn. I realized the mistake I made. And then I just went in and had the comment. I said, hey, for anybody that notices, if you actually watch the video, I screwed up. Like, I made a mistake, but I'm not going to delete it, because this is what social is. We're all newbies. We're all trying. And I don't know what the heck happened on my phone that turned a 1-minute video into a 3-minute video and repeated 3 times. but the point for everybody is just try, and it's okay. And when you go to like Social Selling HQ, we're all in there trying, and you're going to get people that said, you know, good job for trying, instead of, oh, that was stupid, your video, you know, was messed up. So that's what we're all about.
I love that.
And I do like, I know we're running late, but Colby, great comment on here.
Thank you, Colby.
Skyler has created the sky's the limit with this brand, and we did see what you did there. That's awesome.
Yeah, we did.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Colby. Thank you.
I also want to point out that we are one episode in without mentioning our favorite Brad Pitt movie. That's it. I'm done.
I think we're gonna move on. We're gonna end right here.
End right
here. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. As always, a lot of fun. Next week we have another great guest. In fact, I think we have great guests for the next several weeks. So, looking forward to it. And again, thanks, Skyler, and have a good week, everyone.
You're welcome. Have a great week, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy social selling.